On this week's Teaching Moment, we're going to take a deep dive into service labor rates with the one and only Mr. Gary Elekes. We had some questions come in this week that go right to the heart of this issue, so I want to share the question with you. The question reads, I recently received your sample on your pricing course. It was great information, especially the walkthrough with Gary Elekes on pricing add-on replacement jobs. This has also got me to thinking that my service labor rate is probably too low. I need to fix this, but I don't know where to start. Great question. Listen, one of the things that we know is that this business can be tough. And you got to make sure that if you're working hard, you're making money. And the only way you're going to make money is to work hard, but also make sure that you're proper pricing. So let's take a look at Gary Elekes as he gets to this topic to make sure that we're properly pricing our service rates.
First and foremost, what we want to do is we want to understand our cost structures of our base wage. So a lot of questions will be asked about this. Do I use my highest cost technician or do I use a blended average of the technician? And the answer is there is no right answer to that. From a fundamental point of view, we don't know who we're dispatching out. So if we have 2 techs or if we have 18 techs or you're a company that has 300 techs, it doesn't matter. You don't really know who's going to be dispatched to any given call. So the idea that you use a blended average makes probably the most sense, though there are plenty of companies that have used just the highest priced technician. And so if they send out a technician that has a lower base wage, the company is winning, and so everybody's pretty comfortable with that principle. The second thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to deal with your efficiency. The efficiency is going to be defined as the hours that we have billed out versus the hours that we have paid out. So we've talked about that in previous discussions. 6 hours billed, 8 hours paid gives me a 75% efficiency ratio. The industry average right here is about 50%. So I would recommend that we start with the industry average at 50%. I will say this. In all the years of working with independent companies on a consulting basis, one thing that has come up is most companies think their efficiency is higher than it is. And so what typically happens is we'll say, well, let's get the last 60 days worth of physical invoices. Let's pull them out. And what we can do is we can put them on a table and we can start sorting them and separating them into billable and non-billable. And usually what I do is just do a basic Excel spreadsheet and I'll start putting in, time out versus the actual time that was billed. We'll collect a few time cards from the guys, match up the time and the payroll for the week. So it's pretty simple. In 2 months, we can get about 4 or 5 pay periods and analyze that and say these are the hours that we paid out for the technician and here's the hours that we actually billed out. And inevitably, the efficiency comes in below 50%. So when I say use 50%, that's the industry average. One thing that really impacts that is our travel time, our diagnostic, our dispatching procedures, and just a general understanding of technician competency and who we're sending out to the type of work. So there's a lot of places where we can go wrong with that, and that's part of the reason efficiency ends up being a little bit lower. Plus things like warranty, callbacks, training, those are good uses of time, but they're still inefficient because we're not billing. So it's not a question of is inefficiency a good thing or a bad thing. It is a question of understanding what yours is and then applying it to a pricing strategy that makes sense. The third area is the benefit costs. I need to know what your benefit costs are. That's going to be your FICA, FUTA, SUTA, your health care, your benefits that you might pay for dental or medical, any vacation time, holiday pay. That is driven by the budgeting process. If you haven't spent any time with the budgeting process, in the budgeting section, there is a benefit calculation tool so you can figure that out. For today's purposes, we're going to use 30% because that's the cost of benefits in my particular company. In your particular company, you can use whatever number you want as we go through the examples. And then the fourth area is the KPIs, key performance indicators. For those of you that have been through the benchmarks discussion, that is essentially 22% cost of wage against the actual labor rate. So when I set a street labor rate of X, call it $100, I can be no higher than 22% of that labor rate that I'm billing to the customer. So $22 would be the maximum that I could spend on a wage here against a $100 rate. The problem with that is efficiency. If I'm 50% efficient, that means the $100 rate, really I only get 1 hour billed for every 2 hours that I actually pay. So in other words, $22 will be in relationship to $100, but we may have to have a rate of $200 because we're billing only 1 out of every 2 hours. The last issue then is the discounts for service agreements. Not necessary for you to do that. It's something that I would recommend. We obviously want a culture of service agreements. We want to develop more service agreements than the other companies in the marketplace to lock down our customers and our customer relationship and marketing model. So what we want to do is we want to make it easy for the technician to sell a service agreement on a crisis demand service call. So by creating a discount, that's actually going to lower the price of the service repair based on the strategy. If we're going to do that, then that means that that $100 rate, if it's discounted, is no longer going to be $22. So what we have to do is we have to gross up that rate. And so I'll take you through the tool. These are all areas that you're going to have to deal with relative to the financial structure of setting your service labor rate.